you can have an if statement that has an else, which basically captures whatever that is not true, or that does not go through the if part of the if statement. Now, what I'm trying to say is, and again, let's do a little bit of a combination of functional programming and if statement. So in this case, I'm defining this function called is even. It takes a number. I don't know if I can't remember if we talked about percentage sign, but this sign basically returns the remaining of a division. So it checks if the number can be, if the number, the remaining of the division by 2 for this number is 0 or not. So if we divide this number by 2, it checks if the remaining is 0. If it is, then it returns even. Basically, the number is even. Otherwise, else, which captures whatever that is not true and doesn't go through this part, then the number is odd. So the output for this would be is even, and if I give it 3, this will return odd, because, well, that's not true, because if I divide 3 by 2, the remaining is 1 and it's not 0, so it's not even. It goes to else and returns odd. Whereas if I put 4, then it simply tells me that's even, since 4 divided by 2 is 2, and the remaining the remainder is 0. All right, and you might notice that I could just do something like this, and just get the return like what I did before. As I said, in a function with multiple returns, once we hit the first return, doesn't matter whatever how many returns we have after that, that would be the output of the function. So if you were thinking that, yes, that's true. That else was here just to demonstrate how an if can be combined with else in an if-else statement. But I could get the same result without actually having it there. Now, let's take a look at elif statement. Right? For an elif statement, and again, I want to combine functional programming with that. Now, here is the case. I define this function grade. It takes a grade, which is basically a number, and it checks if the, or score, which is basically a number. If the score is greater than 90, it returns A, then we're done. If that's not the case, comes here and checks if the score is greater than 80, then it returns B. And if that's not the case, comes here and it returns C. So if it's not greater than 90 or greater than 80, it returns C. So you can check the function print grade and then put, let's say, 85, and then you'll see it returns B. So it's not greater than equal to 90, but it's greater than equal to 80. So it returns B, and then that's what is the output of the function. Now, I could have multiple elif, as I mentioned before. I could be doing something like if it's greater than 85, do B plus. If it's greater than 80, return B. Elif, if it's greater than or equal to 75, return C, else return D. Right? This is also something you could do, and you can have multiple elif, and it goes through the process anywhere that it hits the first true condition. In this case, in this function, it returns whatever is the corresponding string for the specific condition, and then it exits the function. So now if I put 85 and I run that, I get B plus, right? So just keep in mind that the bottom line is you can have one if and one else, but you can have a lot of elif in the function. Just make sure that you are doing the correct overlapping. Whatever you're checking in this elif, you kind of have to have a sense of what your number or condition lands between two elif, and make sure that that's actually what you really want to check. With that, we can talk about something that I don't have here, and I had in the slides, is nested conditional statements. I'm going to add it here. In a nested statement, again, I'm going to stick to the functional programming and basically write the function so we get used to that way of writing a code. So in a nested conditional statement, simply, and again, I think this is something you've seen in other programming languages or even in Python, we check the first conditional statement. If that's true, we can have another conditional statement to check for more specific conditions after we verify the first condition is true. Basically having multiple if, elif statement under one if statement. So we have our if and else, and then we have if and else inside. And if I call this function, let's say check number, and let's call it -5, let's give it a -5, that will give me negative. Let's do something like 5. So this condition is true, comes here. If the number is 0, then it's 0. If it's greater than 0, it's positive. In this case, it's positive. So hopefully this makes sense. We could do a little even more complicated and have elif statements, maybe multiple elif statements, and have them all under the first if else structure. And there is kind of no end to number of nested conditions you can have. You can have multiple if conditions nested within each other and have multiple returns for your function, depending on the complexity of the condition or conditions you want to check for your specific purpose.